tall girls can get away with not being as slim.
Hello and welcome to episode number 87 of Unrelenting, and it's Friday the 13th. Gene, the world's burning down, and all of a sudden the Russians aren't the worst people in the world. Woo!
I know, right? I had lunch with my with my Arab neighbor yesterday, and high-fived them because we did the switch off. See,
Right.
The world goes from between hating Russia / USSR and hating Arabs in the Middle East. And so, we take turns.
So the Russian restaurants are back in Austin, but
all the Middle Eastern places are shutting down again.
That's just how you know. It depends on which flag that you've got flying in front of your house or, on your social media platforms, who you are supporting today or not supporting today. Yeah. And people are going so absolutely insane about this that Candice Swanepoel, you may know her as the South African Victoria's Secret supermodel, awesome chick, very pointy chick if you want to use the Larry Bleidnerism, made a donation to the Save the Children fund charity, whatever it is.
What? And how dare she?
I know. And people took this as, will you support Hamas? It's like, wait, how? People
financially,
are insane.
Sounds like.
Because Save the Children is one of those charities that you're like, oh, well, of course, they're a terrorist organization.
Yeah.
I mean, I never really know too much.
It's not a terrorist organization. I think that's a little misnomer, but it's definitely a child trafficking organization.
Well,
no question about that.
They're trying to get the children out of the bad places.
They're literally selling children to rich people.
Oh,
they are traffickers.
Gene at SirGene.com.
Oh, hell yeah. I'll stand by that one, man. There's no two ways about it. There's a bunch of documentaries.
There's
These people are traffickers.
Lawsuit. Save the Children. They're the traffickers. Wow.
Save the Children for use by rich people. Yes.
That's a longer URL. I think maybe you're thinking of a different organization.
Nope. Pretty much the same one.
But the BLM folks all of a sudden are, wait. BLM Chicago, they're not a part of us, because BLM Chicago did post whether you want to call it a meme or just a picture of one of the people hang gliding into, and I'm guessing it was just a drawing. Maybe it was real. I don't know. Either way, it was representing somebody hang gliding into Israel, and BLM says, we support Hamas.
Right.
Well, that was BLM Chicago. And all of a sudden, the rest of BLM went, whoa. Because while I'm sure they probably do support Hamas, they don't want that kind of heat. They've been making a lot of good money. It's been a good grift.
The rest of BLM, because literally BLM in every city put out stuff like that. So which BLM exactly is it that's
I
not
only saw
supporting?
Chicago. Which other BLM had? Because I'm not doubting
Seattle.
It. Okay, so they have the same thing.
Which is, I think, the second biggest BLM.
So it's everybody except the people that are in charge of the global one who are like, well, we still want to keep grifting people. So stop that. Don't let that. Although they were the ones straight up front, and I'm sure we talked about that here at length, that was like, well, we're a communist / socialist organization who want the dissolution of the American nuclear family because that's racist and bad. But yet all of these companies, and I know people love when we mention Big Bill O'Reilly, but he had a list of all the companies that gave money to BLM last night. And it's like, did you get what you paid for? That's really the only question.
Yeah.
When you knee jerk and send money to an organization that has not been vetted, that has not been around for a long time, you sent them a lot of money. Did you get what you pay for? When companies like Coca-Cola, you sent millions of dollars to them, and now they're like, hey, we support terrorism.
Yep. Well done. We knew that.
Well done, Coca-Cola. Well done.
Big Sugar is one of the main terrorist organizations out there.
Well, yeah, they're trying to kill us very slowly.
Yeah.
And they're doing a pretty good job
with the drug companies who sell overpriced drugs to battle diabetes.
Well, you have to. You have to give somebody the diabetes so you can sell the very expensive
Hell yeah.
solution for diabetes.
Yeah.
But at least now the Russians, nobody's talking about the Russians.
You know, when playing a video game like Cyberpunk 2077 feels more normal than turning the news on, something's wrong.
Well, it's because the news is not the news that we had when we were growing up, you and I.
No. Back in the 1930s was very different.
Propaganda was there, I'm sure, but not as prevalent.
Yeah.
And it's interesting that they're going after Elon. And I think that's obvious that that's just a personal thing.
Yeah, totally.
Because there was an article that said the EU was going to be looking into how this terrorist propaganda spreads online. I'm like, what do you mean how it spreads online? It's social media. That's what it does.
Yeah.
That's what it's designed to do. There's no money
and
that
by
needs to be.
propaganda, they mean all like the BLM messaging.
Yeah, well, anything that they don't like is propaganda. Otherwise, the rest of it should be protected under free speech. If they agree with it, it should be protected. But everything else has to be silenced. And that is one of the hardest things for people to understand. When you talk about free speech, that is not something that comes without consequences. That means that if somebody wants to stand up, if you want a terrorist organization, they're going to put out their message. You let them put out their message.
Yeah.
You don't remove it.
No country actually supports free speech.
This is probably true. I mean, there's some that
can't
say
think
they
of
do,
one.
but they don't. I mean, America was the one that everybody turned to in the past, but that has now been completely politicized. And we saw
America has tons of banned speech.
Well, we can't yell fire in a crowded theater and all that.
No, which is bullshit because you can, but
people right. This is the concept. It's like, well, you can, but there are repercussions. But it's like there are repercussions for everything when it comes down to it. So you can yell fire in a crowded theater, and then that's great.
Kind of the point is that free speech means you're allowed to say things that other people may not like.
Yes, or that are completely 100% untrue. There is no law that says lying through your teeth is illegal.
Well, unless you're selling something.
There is a certain amount of that is true.
There are laws that.
But then you could still say it, but then there's protections for people to return it, and all. You can get sued through your ass if you're a drug company, since that's a good example.
Well, except the drug companies have exemptions, so they don't get sued. But yes,
for some things they do. I mean, for the vaccines, they do. For some other things, they don't.
There are no products other than vaccines being developed by drug companies, and vaccines are all exempt.
There are no other drugs being produced by drug companies. They're not
developing anything that can't be called a vaccine anymore. So you're going to have
because it falls into the category of they can't go after you for it.
Yeah, you're going to have broken bone vaccine. You're going to have all kinds of vaccines coming out because there's zero liability there, and they can get pushed through without doing any real testing.
Are cast vaccines now too?
I think you may be required to take a vaccine in order for the cast to work.
That would go well. Sign here to say you won't sue us.
Yeah, pretty much.
And it's one of those systems.
What's even better than that? Just not being able to sue because the courts won't take the case.
Well, or we'll always side with one side. So it's great. But you have the ability to sue a doctor, but if the courts come down on the sides of the doctors 99.9% of the times, then suing a doctor is not going to do much for you.
Yeah, but that's still 99.9. But if they literally say, you cannot sue these drug companies because they have an exclusion, that's 100%.
But that's the illusion that you can. That's why they never want to do it 100%. They always want to make it seem like, no, you're safe.
Oh, no. They do want to do it 100%, which is why they have immunity to lawsuits.
Well, just like you had diplomatic immunity down in Costa Rica. There was like, whatever Gene does, they can't touch him.
Hey, man, that diplomatic immunity cost me a pretty penny with having multiple bodyguards.
Well, this is true. Because they still can't stop people from wanting to, chop off your head.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the rub. It's like, well, okay, legally we can't do anything to you, but it's one of those systems that eventually everything takes care of itself. Like the war in the Middle East. That'll be over any day now. There'll be peace.
I mean, there's no real reason for it to be there, so it'll probably be over in a matter of days.
Sure, it's not a distraction for anything else.
No.
This is not a, you look at what happened with Ukraine and the proxy war the United States was having with Russia. Well, now you just have Iran having a proxy war with Israel.
Yeah, except that it's not Iran, except it's Russia and China having a proxy war with the United States through Israel.
Is that how it's working now?
Oh, I thought you were going there. Sorry,
no,
did I get ahead of the story here?
I'm just making the connection that you have.
Yeah. No, this literally is it. This whole thing, and I actually texted Adam about this the day that it happened. It's like, let's see how much the U.S. enjoys being involved in the proxy war in Israel. That they're effectively doing to Russia in Ukraine, because Israel is as close as you can get to the United States without being in the United States.
Yes, it is a strong ally. What's kind of surprising to me
it's not
that
a strong ally. It's a 51st state.
Well,
it is
not officially.
If Israel gets attacked, America cannot not act.
And even Joe Biden, who is beholden to the radical left that seems to support Hamas on a pretty large percentage, even he couldn't come out and be like, fuck Israel.
Nope, can't do it. So it's really tit for tat. And it accomplishes multiple goals, and I've said this on to a few folks anyway. But all you have to do is evaluate a situation based on who it benefits. Does this situation benefit Israel at all? No, definitely not. Does it benefit the Palestinian people? Nope, definitely not. There's going to be a lot more of them hurt. Does this benefit Iran? Not really, because there's an actual risk of Iran getting hit with nukes. So I don't think it benefits Iran. It's too close for comfort.
Well, you're also assuming, though, that everybody involved here is completely logical in their decision making. And I'm not sure that's the case.
But if you look at the people that instigate things, they tend to be logical. And does it benefit the United States to be involved in a conflict in the Middle East once again? No.
It depends on who you're trying to distract from what. Because does this help Joe Biden? Because it's like all of a sudden, he's a strong president because he came out.
Well, Joe Biden was already going to have troops on the ground in Ukraine so that he was a wartime president and couldn't do anything about it. Now he's going to have troops on the ground in Israel. I don't know that there's a big difference. Either one would be troops on the ground, and I don't think either one is going to be perceived by Americans as our war. But then you move over to the other side, which is BRICS. Does this benefit Russia? Well, yeah, because it distracts America from focusing on Ukraine to focusing on somebody they have no choice but to focus on. Ukraine is an optional. Ukraine is what you do when you have nothing else going on.
Right. Well, right. Ukraine's the girl you're dating until the good girl comes. Right.
Israel is a mandatory. And so now, if they want to do both, it places a much higher tax burden on the United States citizen to support two different wars in two different places, a European war and a Middle Eastern war. Does it benefit China, who the United States has been aggressively trying to stir the pot up with the reunification of China in Taiwan? And of course it does, because now... does the U.S. want to commit a bunch of troops to Taiwan now and harass China over there with their exercises?
There's only so many troops that are going to you only have so many places you can put your pieces on the board.
We're at the lowest number of U.S. recruits coming in this year in over a decade.
Well, and the military has been, just like the police, with this administration has been defunded. That was one of the reasons
I
when
like
Trump,
how you say the police.
that they came in when Trump came in, was like, well, the military has been gutted. He needs to rebuild. He put a lot of money into the military, helped rebuild the military. The minute Biden came in, that went back in the other direction again.
Yeah. So you combine those things, and this is great for China. This is great for Russia. Now, I'm not saying that they necessarily were behind it, but they sure as hell could have been, because they both can manipulate Iran into doing whatever the hell they want. Because Iran is a client state of both China and Russia.
The Wall Street Journal was the one that reported that Iran was behind this, that they were the money behind it, that they were helping train for this over the last months before
that is
it happened.
Literally just, that's not reporting, that's conjecture, but yeah.
Well, and that's the question of is there proof behind this or not? And if there is, because there's two competing things. The other, the CNNs of the world are like, nope, Iran didn't have anything to do with it. So the media is fractured here. And it's not a surprise when the media is fractured when it's a far left and far right. But the Wall Street Journal is not a far right organization.
It's right-ish as far as newspapers go.
Well, it's fair mostly as far as newspapers go, and doesn't necessarily hold into one bias. I mean, everybody's got some kind, but it'll be interesting to see if there is any proof behind that. I'm not sure it really changes anything, except for the people that want to point to, well, Joe Biden just gave that $6 billion back to Iran, and all of a sudden it's like, well, one, I think that was too quick for this to have materialized in that period of time, but I guess it is something, the case can be made that you now know those funds are going to be there, even though they haven't been released yet. And it's like, well, can the United States pull those back and not give them to her? Because I guess they're in some bank in cutter. How do you say it? Gutter or cutter? I've heard both.
Cutter.
Well, that's where the money is, and it could allegedly still be held back, but I don't really see that happening. But there's a lot of moving pieces with this, which is the Russia-Ukraine thing. Way simpler, which is why a lot of people, I think, jump behind it, because the story was, well, Russia bad, Ukraine good. There were very few people telling the other side of that story, where this, man, the world is split on who's the good guy and who's the bad guy here.
Yeah, absolutely. And there are no good guys.
Well, there's never any clean guys. That's for sure. Everybody thinks they're righteous, especially when it gets down to religious states.
Exactly. And that's essentially what you have is, we always like to say Israel's the only democracy in the Middle East, except that Israel is a theocracy.
It's going to be fun to watch. I mean, this is, anybody can say, and they did, going into the Donald Trump presidency, I would love to get a supercut of all of the media talking heads. Oh my God, Donald Trump, a president, he's going to get us into wars all around the world. It was the most peaceful 4 years the world has had in my lifetime.
Absolutely.
And the minute the Biden administration came in, wow, it's amazing that Putin waited for that to go into Ukraine, and now the Middle East. Well, why is that happening now?
Yeah.
And I would say the case could be made that for all of his boisterousness, Donald Trump, from some of the stories that I've read, was very much a mafia don, if we can use the don when he's Don. But he has that mentality that the stories are, when it came to ISIS, how did he keep ISIS in check? Well, he met with them and said, if you fuck around, I'm going after your families. I'm not even going to wait. I'm not going to, if anything happens here, I'm going after your families. Very much like out of a mob story. But that works. That works if you go after what people hold the most dear, which is why the kind of stuff, the kind of comments you're getting out of asshole Bernie Sanders now about what's going on in Israel, which is, well, anybody that targets civilians, that's terrorism. You can't do that. Well, how do you not target civilians in a case like this, where the one side just came in and you know what they did? They absolutely targeted civilians. This is so disingenuous when the side, and I would, guess that Bernie Sanders would support Israel since he's Jewish, but I guess he's a Democrat, so that means he's more liberal, which maybe he's a Hamas guy.
Yeah, probably is a Hamas guy. I think that this is where the squirming starts, is that which base does he want to lose? And there are a lot of people like him. Does he want to lose his ultra left-wing base that totally supports Hamas, or does he want to lose his liberal Jewish base, which supports all the socialist causes up until it deals with Israel?
Right.
And then they support Israel. So he's got to pick one. And I'm sure that he's trying to straddle, like all of them do. But ultimately, somebody gets pissed off. Or both sides get pissed off, which has happened in the past with politicians as well, when they try to straddle the oil industry, but also the activists against, damaging the environment.
Right.
And it's like, no, dude, you got to pick one. You can't pretend that you're on both sides at the frickin' same time.
Well, you don't get to go, well, okay, so these Hamas folks, they just went after a bunch of citizens, but you retaliating. No, you can't do that. Well, that's not how war works. That's why war has never been just armies killing armies. That's why civilians get killed, because that is what stops people from continuing the madness.
Yeah. And I think people are they don't understand what the word terrorism means. Terrorism is exactly what happened in this instance with Hamas actions, because what they're trying to achieve is not a military victory. What they're trying to achieve is to gain support of other nations by making Israel do an overreaction.
Right. And that is the key word we're hearing with a lot of these talking heads talking about this now. That was a great Grammarly talking heads talking. It's the proportionality is the key word that I'm hearing over and over again. Well, Israel has to respond, but they have to do it proportionally to what happened to them. And it's like, well, what is that? What is that? Bernie Goldberg
said, not 1-to-1, I'll tell you that.
No. Well, and you look at what happened on 9/11 to the United States, and people are making that comparison. I'm not sure if that's a good one or not, but the comparison being the amount of people that were killed on 9/11 in the United
1,000
States.
People died in the United States, or however many it was. I can't remember the exact number.
It was like 3,000 or so.
3,000, and then we killed 3 million.
And in this case, that 3,000, that percentage of the population with what just happened in Israel.
No, it's like 300,000, yeah.
It would be, well, I think the number that Bernie Goldberg used was like 40,000, but that's still a lot of people compared to, well, if the United States, this is equal to 3,000, that's, if you do the math, 40,000, the same percentage of the base of people in Israel. Yeah. And, well, what is a proper response? And it would seem that the response that Israel is having is, you better leave Gaza because we are going
Gaza's
to level
gone. It's gone. Yeah, exactly. And this is historically appropriate. Whenever there's an attack, you can't have an equivalent response, because all that does is create a forever war. It's the Hatfields and McCoys, right? They're just shooting targets of opportunity one at a time, and it never ends.
We go back to that movie on, again, The Mob with Sean Connery, where you send one of mine to the hospital, I send 2 of yours to the morgue, or whatever that quote is.
Yeah.
That's how it works in war.
There was back in the 70s, there was a period in time where the Italian mafia provided some protection, and their response was a 3-to-1. So if one of our guys gets hurt, then 3 of your guys end up being dead. And that type of ratio tends to discourage attacks.
Yes, because if you know you're just getting a slap on the wrist, it's like crime in the United States right now. If you know you're not going to be prosecuted or you're going to have a slap on the wrist and you're going to get to walk out like, well, let's see, I just stole a new iPad and they're going to make me go down to the jail and I get to keep the iPad and I'm out in 24 minutes. Well,
right.
That's a pretty good deal.
Yeah. Except
it's a
Apple
similar
can
thing.
remotely kill it, but yeah.
Right. Yeah, well, if this is true, which I like the TVs and stuff that had to build that in because so many were being stolen. Like, well, this is why you don't steal our product because it's not going to work anyway. Because thieves are so smart, they'll be able to tell which TVs have that and which don't.
Oh, they all do.
They're like, this has a low jack for TVs. Nah, I don't want that one.
Low jack, exactly. Forgot about low jack.
Now, well, there was stories on how San Francisco is not even looking for stolen cars anymore, and people are doing it themselves.
Yeah,
it's great. You take it's the ingenuity that you can go find your own stolen car.
Don't understand what keeps people living there. I really don't.
With the stories, I would agree because it seems like beside the fact that you have some nice weather, it is otherwise hell on earth.
Not in San Francisco. That's not nice weather. It's too fucking cold. San Diego, that's nice weather.
You came from Minneapolis or that area. How do you think that's cold?
I don't want to live there.
Like, this is true.
Ridiculously cold.
You moved down to Texas.
Hell yeah. Way better here.
AKA Moscow.
Yeah. Moscow, Texas.
Moscow on the Gulf of Mexico, baby.
Odessa, Texas.
Is that Moscow? Odessa?
We do have an Odessa here.
Yeah. Well, I've heard that when a Charlie Robinson song, God bless his soul, I was kind of bummed when he died. Was a good Austin-based singer-songwriter.
Yeah, let's talk about more people because either they're dead or they will be soon.
They're dead. They will be. Well, this is what Unrelenting is all about. That sooner or later, if you're listening to this show, you will be dead.
Deadpool podcast.
We do. We talk about people and then things happen to them. Sometimes good.
Yeah.
Sometimes bad. That's why we should only talk about people after they're dead. That way we don't put the curse on them.
Exactly.
But the EU, they're going after Musk because they don't like the stuff that's being posted. And this is very interesting to me because this is still a relatively new technology that's around.
Illegal information, I think, is what they refer to this stuff as.
The EU gets to decide what they think is legal and what's not.
They do get to decide that. That's what all these countries want to join so badly, is to have a non-elected government that gets to decide what is legal thought and what is illegal thought. Yeah, that sounds like an awesome thing to join, doesn't it?
And then if it cannot be removed fast enough, then we're going to go after the people that own these. And it's interesting that they're really just talking about Elon right now. And they're not talking about Zuck. They're not talking about Dorsey, who has his new Blue Sky, whatever it is. They're not even talking about Donald Trump, who still owns this, right? He still has Truth Social or whatever that is. I'm surprised they're not going after Trump because that would be an interesting thing. Like, why not?
EU. I think the EU is more afraid of Trump than US is because they realize that if he actually gets elected, he can literally cut their funding overnight.
True.
And at this point, the EU is already basically bankrupt. If our funding was cut, that's it. There's people starving literally on the streets.
They're like, yes, sir, Mr. Trump, we like your social media. No, there's nobody posting things we don't like there.
Nope.
But Elon, they think they can get his, maybe that's all that. They just want his money.
They do want his money. And I think that they're miscalculating this like a lot of countries because you remember when Australia decided that Google needs to pay newspapers that it links to because, they're basically stealing the news. And
they said,
Google's
we won't do it.
response was, yes, we will not do it by no longer being accessible in your country. And Australia's like, if Google pulls out and all our people blame us, every politician will be replaced all at once.
Yeah.
And so I think Europe's going to have to come to that same realization is that Trump is that Musk will have no qualms about shutting down Twitter or X for Europe. So Yeah, you guys, you can go on Yandex. Go use that instead, Europe.
But do you think the EU wants to get rid of all social media? Because
EU wants to control shit. They don't want to get rid of things. They want to control shit and get money out of them.
And by control, it's like, well, now it's just 100% propaganda because there is no ability for people to post anything they don't like because they just label that as illegal and then go after them.
Yep.
Again, this concept of we need to investigate how things spread online. It's like, what the fuck are you talking about? Any third grader can tell you how things spread online. It's not hard to figure out. You post something to TikTok or X or whatever,
Reddit.
and then people repost
How's
it.
Reddit not been banned in Europe? That's what I'd like to know.
Well, there's a lot of questions about how things are flying under the radar and why.
Reddit is huge. That is.
Right, but they're flying under the radar of people complaining about it for some reason.
I think it's maybe because it's not as public as Twitter. Because Reddit has way crazier opinions than what people post on Twitter.
There's a lot of things like that.
Yeah.
When it came down to all the piracy and stuff as well, everybody forgot about Usenet. And Usenet now is not what it once was, but there's still a lot of piracy on it.
Mm-hmm.
And nobody kind of even talks about it because they don't even know it exists.
It's too complicated.
Yeah. Like, how does this work? We don't know. So let's just go to the easier, right? You go to the easier thing that you can understand and try to shut down. And the fact that Twitter is owned by a guy now that can be the new bad guy boogeyman, well, we'll go after them. That would make sense. But this is the first time, not absolute first time, but you think about this, when a lot of these flare-ups happen, go back in our lifetime to the 1977 hostage crisis. You didn't have the internet. You didn't have social media. You didn't have live photos, live video coming out of these areas.
1977 hostage crisis.
The Iranian hostage crisis.
1979?
Wasn't it 77 like through 79? There was, you're right. 79 was the hostage crisis.
Yeah.
Now, 77 was Star Wars. That was a different thing entirely. Or was it? But you're right, because it was Reagan coming in 1980 that all of a sudden they were like, oh, no, here, have your hostages. Sorry, Jimmy Carter. We loved him. But no, Reagan came in. Here's your hostages. Got to go. But you didn't have the ability for live video to come out. And now what we have, the most interesting thing to me is now the way people will believe anything they see. Do you know how easy it is to fake, quote, live video coming out of a terror attack and it be not real at all, but people will believe it? It's interesting to see the effect that this has on the world as a whole, because there were some very quick news stories coming out saying that the Hamas folks were beheading children, raping children, all sorts of things. And I think most of that turned out to be propaganda, not true. And it's because we have the internet and we have this immediate knee-jerk reaction, and anybody can create. And I'm sure there were videos waiting to go.
And you're referring, of course, to the Israeli videos that are showing dead children as a result of this.
Israelis putting out, or whether it was a Russian bot farm that says they're Israelis, you don't know where it's coming from. That is the one thing that is true on social media, is that you don't really know the source of this stuff, especially because the way things do spread, the original poster of the thing is usually long gone by the time you see it. Because it's somebody that you know that's posted it, that's now reposting it because they want to get the views, because they want to get the likes, they want to get the dopamine hit for people following them because they're like, oh, this guy was first. But you don't know where that came from. How do you know where the video comes from? It's like you could post a video, you could create a video right down there.
Biden talked about it. The president of Israel sent it to him.
Exactly, directly. He saw it and then was like, oh, wait, was it one of these things where it was like those Russian talk radio comedy guys that just that faked him into thinking he was talking? Biden would be very easy to fake out, I think.
I don't think Biden's allowed to talk on the phone, so
they don't let him. That's of random phones ringing somewhere. Joe just picks it up like, ice cream? Is this ice cream delivery? But it's like, you don't know what's real. And I've been hitting this bell for the last few years that people need to understand not to believe anything they see online. And I know that goes against everybody's inner workings because they want to be like, no, I saw the video. It's real. It's true. It's like, you can't tell that anymore. The technology is way too good. Anything can be made to look like it's happening in a video. Anything can be made to sound like it's happening in audio. And you have to really
but you know
be
what
able
they
to
don't
trust
say
the sources.
are the dead people littered all over the city in Ukraine all of a sudden leaning forward for a cigarette break. You can't fake that.
When they stand up and take a break, right?
Uh-huh.
But you can't tell that on the video. If they stay perfectly still, that's one of my wife's favorite things to do on a television show. When somebody is laying on the table, dead, and for an autopsy, and it's like, I saw him breathe. I saw him move. Like, yeah.
Uh-huh.
Because if they're using a real person there and not just a dummy, they still have to breathe.
Do they though?
You're like, if you're a good actor, you'll just not breathe for the next 2 minutes. All right.
Yeah, exactly. It shouldn't be that hard. What's his face? Who's that magician guy? Didn't breathe for like an hour.
Oh, Blaine.
A
lot of people say he's brain damaged anyway, but
well, yes, he's rich.
It's amazing. Yeah, he does some amazing illusions.
He's frozen in a block of ice for like a year or something.
Is that just a way to get away from the wife? I'm gonna be frozen in a block of ice. He's really down on the Gulf, in a nice yacht. Hookers and blow everywhere.
Yeah, he's in Mexico.
Yeah, having a whole lot of fun. Don't believe what you see. And this is where social media drastically changes how wars and other world events are covered. Because everything's not filtered through an official source.
Exactly. And I mean, that's a good clarification, I think, is that it's not like there's propaganda created by Joe Schmo uploading a photo of a dead kid. It's that you can't tell which is the official propaganda and which isn't the official propaganda when there's a lot of different sources and they're all contrary to each other. Right. Whereas in the past, we pretended like the propaganda wasn't propaganda, like it was just news, but it was always propaganda.
Well, and I think that is the point, that if you're somebody that is committing some atrocities, you want to be able to put videos out that makes it look like you're the good guys.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
You have to have that other source so people could go, no, I saw it. And that's not what happened.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no way to stop that now. The internet, you can't, unless you get rid of the internet, you cannot get that genie back in the bottle.
Yeah.
I don't know how that makes the world move forward, but people fall for a lot of stuff.
Oh, absolutely. You remember Q?
From Star Trek?
From the idiots that got Trump out of office?
Oh, Q, right, that Q. Mm-hmm. Not the character in Star Trek Next Generation, which was great, Jonathan DeLance. I mean, one of the best characters.
That was a good character. I agree.
The guy that was the creator, the benevolent, or not really benevolent, I guess, all-powerful character that everybody would, you think you want that kind of power until you realize what comes with it.
Yeah, except that he wasn't all-powerful.
Because there was a collective. There was a Q collective.
And the collective didn't like him, and so they took his powers away.
Because he was like Donald Trump. He was like an outsider.
Mm-hmm.
He wasn't playing ball with the rest of the Q.
He was just like Donald Trump.
Exactly. Isn't everybody just like Donald Trump?
Yeah.
The more I'm watching, have you seen the series Godfather of Harlem?
No, I don't. I don't think I've turned my TV on in a month.
Well, this has been around for a few years. I've just finally got around to watching it. But Forrest Whitaker plays Bumpy Johnson, a black gangster back in the 1960s, the Malcolm X, Muhammad Ali type years in Harlem. And again, the way the mob works, and it was interesting because you've got the black gangs, of course, interacting with the Italian gangs, and they normally, as a people, they don't like each other. No. So the interactions with them, very interesting. some very colorful language, which I was surprised anybody was still making today.
That's
But,
modern.
Yeah. Still going
Isn't
on.
Forrest Whitaker like 60?
About, yeah.
Hmm.
But he's still a badass. I mean, he's the leader.
Badass. Come on, he was always a fat ass, not a badass.
Wait, is that okay? You're not a badass either then, correct?
No, I'm like a lovable, teddy bear.
You can't be a badass fat ass. Is that what you're saying?
No, he can't.
That's a great show title, though. Badass. Badass. Right there, people be like, what are they talking about on this show?
Write badass and then cross out the B and put an F over the top. Uh-huh.
Yeah, it seems like a lot more work.
Oh my God. Yes. Let's not do any actual work. Yes.
I mean, it's bad enough I have to make you sound good on this show.
Okay. Let me just remind you that there was a $100 donation received for this show.
There was from Sir Howitzer.
Yeah. Which means you have to do their work. God damn it.
Which I have to do the work. Well, I can also, as long as we can, it's about that time anyway. We also had $113.66 from Dale.
Jesus. What the hell, man?
I know. And I pulled up something very especially for Dale. I'm like, we need to do something when his donations come in because they are plentiful and they are large.
Yeah.
So I found this.
Okay.
This is the Russian Red Army Choir. And they're doing that song.
Nice.
I mean, where else could you hear the Russian Red Army doing Down Under?
Only here.
I guess they only did it once on a visit to Australia.
Uh-huh.
But I'm like, how could we combine the Russian, the Jinnetulev to the
That's pretty good. I have not heard this version before.
It's like, really, I mean, are the Russian Red Army going to come after us?
Russia does not have copyright, so I don't know why you're worried about copyright here.
Oh, well, great then. But we thank Dale for that. And he came in with a note as well. So let me pull that up here. It comes from a land down under. And it was funny because, the Russian guys, none of them spoke English, I guess. So they had no idea what they were singing. Yeah, except English is an official second language in Russia, but sure. Sure. Maybe they just didn't want to talk to the lady or whatever from talk to them. Exactly. Which is quite possible. There's a lot of people I don't want to talk to. I'm like, if I could just pretend I didn't understand the language, like no comprende inglés. No, thank you. Yeah. So thanks to our over $100 donators. Remember, if you get to $1,000, you become an oligarch. This is true. And Dale says, hope all is well with you and both stay well as the seasons change. Days are getting longer and warmer down here. Ha. So yeah, they're going into summer as we're going into winter. Yep. He says, comrades, I was caught in a sandstorm heading for a destination unknown. Nice. That's a song, isn't it? Maybe. In hindsight, Sir Gene's health talk was clearly him preparing for his role as Supreme Leader Kim Jong-un. What's the train like? ? Bring some caviar home? A 1997 paper by Ralph Peters titled Constant Conflict is an Interesting Light Read. Well, yeah, the constant conflict, that is very apropos for what's going on. I mean, both in Ukraine and in Israel. And he says, don't be afraid of tall girls. They're all the same height on their back. Hey-o! Nice. Stay unrelenting. Well, thank you. Who's afraid of tall girls? I don't, maybe you were. I don't know. You kind of like tall girls, and I have no problem with tall girls. I've dated plenty of them. I mean, being 6'6", I'm like, hey, Taylor Swift is right about the right height. As is Adriana Lima. As is Candace Swanepoel. I mean, being 6'6", technically the right height for a woman would be 4'9". Hey, there's a whole nother visual there. But that's why all those Victoria's Secret models were like, well, that's the right height. 5'11"? No, that's perfect. Yeah. That is perfect. I agree, especially for models. Because here's what they can get away with. Tall girls can get away with not being as slim. And this is something that when I was doing
photography that I ran into quite a bit is it is a lot harder to find a 5'4", 5'5" girl that is proportioned very, very model-like, because that means they weigh 95 pounds.
Right.
Whereas a 5'11" girl is 120 pounds, but has the same proportions.
And when you're larger, it takes more
to length to height.
And it's easier to stay in a more even plane because there's, as you would gain, it would be less of a change.
Yeah.
Because you are larger. So, I mean, that kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
Which is why I've always found it easy when I want to lose weight to do so, because it's, again, the larger you are, then if you really work at it, you can drop weight quicker because, you burn more calories just by walking.
Just by existing.
Yes.
Literally doing nothing, you're burning more calories. Yeah, that's totally true.
Your heart just beating burns those calories.
Your heart's also the size of an elephant, so...
Right, this is also could be a problem. But between Dale's 113.66 and Sir Howitzer's 100, it's like, well, see, that's it. It's perfect. Now we just, it's all wiped out.
So I see you've put out the memo that minimum donation size is now $100.
And then we'd have to come up with a theme song for you. If you come in with multiple, that kind of seems fair. But yeah, the $100 plus donation is definitely appreciated and helps.
Well, I mean, let's face it makes for easier math for us.
Yeah, and when one of them sends it to you and one sends it to me, then I don't even have to split anything, and you don't have to split. Just works out.
I want half of that 13.
You got that 1366. Don't forget the 66.
Oh yeah, that's right.
But we did get to split 10,000 Satoshis, which is about $1.34, $1.35 each from CSB. And of course, he always has a note.
Yes.
What's the crack, Darren? Well, see, that's an Irish thing.
Oh, I don't even know what that reference is.
It is in Ireland. You never heard about the crack in Ireland? It means like the good times.
Oh, no,
they call it the crack. I mean, it's CRAIC, but they say crack. And I never really understood it until going to Ireland, and then, hey, good cracking? Oh, sure. I mean, if when it cracks some skulls.
I don't know if it's too soon, but I posted a joke on X on Twitter, an original one I came up with.
Are you going to be booted off of there?
So I had a photo of the Palestinian people with guns, and I said, isn't it time to implement no-nonsense gun control in Gaza after the largest school shooting event in decades?
Did people not like that?
No, I'm the reason I mentioned this because I just saw a whole bunch of likes on X from it. So people are liking it. Some people still have senses of humor, which is good.
Well, and some people will still go, wow, you have to put things into perspective. But CSB says, what's the crack, Darren? And then he gives me, I'm guessing this is like a pronunciation for you because there's it's in that kind of text. It's like Zidrav Stuyvoite Gas Podin Gene. I have no idea what that is supposed to mean.
I'm not sure either. I'm not sure what language that is.
I think maybe it's Rush. What do you get if you're
butchering the pronunciation?
If you mix, I'll send you here. If you mix Russian and Polish, maybe is that what you would get? I have no idea.
Oh, здравствуйте, so that means hello. Господин, yeah, that is Russian. It's just phonetic Russian, and you managed to butcher it nonetheless. So it's saying hello, Sir Gene in Russian.
Well, that's very nice.
Yeah.
I am in search of new, specific, and either funny or clever cartoon ideas to drop. Well, it's good that he wants either funny or clever.
I've been giving him a few here and there, but yeah, if anyone's got ideas for cartoons and they can't draw worth a shit themselves, a CSB is a perfect match there.
Or you could just get an AI.
I mean, that's kind of what I did. Is I used an AI to do a cartoon and send them the cartoon and said, you could do something like this.
He says, I will acknowledge your contribution if desired. I mean, there's some things you might send that you don't want to be.
No. No.
acknowledged for. But you can submit your ideas through the Fediverse at CSB@noagendasocial.com or via Twitter at CSB. Yes, it's just 3 letters on X. He's CSB on X. What? That sounds like he's on drugs. It sounds like CSB is doing X.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. That's pretty good, man. I mean, I used to have 5 letters on Twitter, but they got rid of that account. So now I have like 13 letters.
Ah,
so
close.
Is close
and
to
then,
what?
Then we saw Eric PP. He was listening and streaming along. We appreciate that. But those are the, we got the big ass donors today, man. Dale and Sir Howitzer. If you want to help support the show, you can go to unrelenting.show. All of the information is there. There's plenty of ways to do it. If you want to use PayPal, if you want to use crypto, if you want to use the P.O. box, if you want to use the podcasting 2.0 Satoshis, you can do all of that. Unrelenting.show. Keep this show viable as we will help you navigate the waters of a very, very confusing world. It's just a sign. I mean, I don't know why people would believe anything we say.
What do you think they do?
Maybe.
I mean,
we are more than just pretty faces.
Yeah, certainly we are pretty faces, but more as well. I would say I don't want to discount the pretty faces part.
No, and in the troll room, which when we do these shows live on Fridays at 10 a.m. Central, it's where you want to be, trollroom.io. The Reverend Dr. Pfeiffer says, if you have an idea and can't draw for shit, pass it on to someone else who can't draw for shit.
Wow.
Slamming CSV's drawing style.
Yeah, that's great. How much was a donation to say that?
He didn't donate at all. That was just the troll room. That was a freebie.
That was a troll room. Wow. I can't believe you're taking freebies at this point. Wow.
Oh, is that a picture of you playing your video games?
Yeah, right.
A younger, very
this is
virile
me in the
gene.
80s right there.
Yes, and the 80s were a very good year. And this is episode 87. And I'm like, 87 was a very good
we
year.
are in the 80s, aren't we?
Yeah, I met my wife in 1987.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Wow. That's a long time ago.
Oh, yeah.
That's ancient.
I'm not going to disagree with that.
I mean, I guess it'd be more believable if he said I met my first wife in 87, but
right. See, I should have been on like the second or third wife by now.
By now, yeah.
I like that.
We've gone through at least 2 levels of upgrades.
Rachel Bilson, the actress from the OC and Heart of Dixie, she was on a few different shows. The girls at The View took some umbrage to what she said in the podcast, which was paraphrasing here that, if you're a single 40-something-year-old guy and you've only slept with 4 women, there's something weird about you.
Okay.
And they didn't like that. I'm like, but wait, no, this is the way we have always, as human beings, I think, looked at things where you're like, well, wait, you've only what? I mean, you're single and you haven't.
How much is enough? That's the question.
Right. What is the proper amount that's without going over and making you like bad for going too much?
Like, is 30 enough? Is 300 enough? Is 3,000 enough? Like, what's the right number?
The number of Satoshis, 3333 from the Reverend Dr. Pfeiffer, who says, Hail Dale. I guess he heard you saying, like, how much did he have to spend for that other? And then he decided to come in with Satoshi. So that's beautiful. But what is the proper amount? Well, for most guys, are like, they want their women to have the lowest number possible, but they want to have the highest number possible. Right. Gene's like, okay, how many? 0? Well, I'd like to be the first. I'd like to be the one planting the flag on that particular territory.
Exactly.
And then move on to the next.
Totally.
And the next.
That's how it works.
But if you're a guy in your 40s who had been regularly dating for...
I mean, it depends how long you've been single. You could be a guy in your 40s that's been married for 20 years.
True. And she made that comment, which,
3.
Somebody that was in a long, decades-long monogamous relationship, different. This was just based upon somebody who has not been in a very long-term serious relationship. If you're at that age, then that would be like you have very little.
The sort of half joking, half not joking question would be, if you've slept with 3 women by the time you're 40, how many guys have you slept with?
Hey-oh! And I guess you'd have to look at that aspect of it as well.
I think it's a fair question, because it's you'd have to literally avoid relationships and dating to have just 3 women you've slept with.
See, Brooklyn says he has a high body count, stacked him up in the in my 20s. See, that's what most people would do, I would guess.
Yeah. Or if you got married early in your 20s, then you wait until you're divorced in your 40s, and then you do the same thing.
Then you're like, I got to catch up.
Yeah.
I never got to that point. I got married at 25.
Yeah, that's true. You're you're too late now.
I know.
You better hold on to this one.
I know. I'm too old and out of shape now to be like, I get what. No. There's performance anxiety now. No.
Yes.
You want me to go? No, I just want to lay on my back. I mean, what?
Yeah.
Work. Why do you think I'm a podcaster?
Oh, no, see, now you're hitting CSB's pet peeve with podcasting. It's all a bunch of unemployed basement dwellers.
I know. It's not wrong, although my co-host on Grumpy Old Benz is now employed. We found that out on the show that dropped yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
He is working for one of those big corporations delivering.
Back at Microsoft.
No, one of those. He's a delivery driver now. He is delivering your packages.
Oh, Amazon. He works for Amazon, one of those big corporations.
Yeah.
Nice.
I mean, he didn't say that name, and probably good for it, not pointing it out.
Yeah.
But he's learning that is physical labor, and it sucks.
Oh, physical labor versus not working at all and doing podcasts?
Yes.
Yeah.
So, donate. My brother-in-law has worked for UPS for pretty much as long as I've known him. He got out of high school, started working on the dock.
Oh, those guys make a lot of money, though.
Yeah, he is not hurting for cash. I will tell you that. But he has always been very, very thin. And it's one of those things, I guess it's probably a good metabolism.
But that or burning 5,000 calories a day by delivering packages.
Yes, because he will sit down. He has been sent home. They had days where they would buy, pizzas for everybody or whatever. So, they buy like 10 pizzas. He was sent home once because he ate like 3 pizzas by himself. Like, no, that's enough. It's like, but yeah, you're right. You're burning calories constantly where your body can't catch up. Then you can eat whatever the hell you want.
Yeah.
And it's like, wow, I wish I could do that. Although I don't want to do that hard work.
Like old decrepit podcasters like us, I a few days ago, a week ago, I went to sleep and then I woke up and my heel hurt like I twisted it or something. Like, how do I manage to fuck up my foot in my sleep? How the hell does that happen?
If you're getting hurt while sleeping.
God. Yeah. Like I'm getting hurt in my fucking dreams. That's pathetic.
You go to the doctor. What'd you do? I don't know. I was sleeping.
I slept. Well, quit doing that.
Yeah. Well, you might have to be strapped down when you're sleeping.
Right.
Just so you don't accidentally hurt yourself.
Yeah. And it's like, God, my neck hurts. What the hell?
You don't have a video camera monitoring your sleep to go with. I know you have the bed that monitors. The bed can't give you like a CSI 3D rendering of how this happened.
I'm seriously considering getting a CAT scan machine installed over my bed just so I can have a live view while I'm sleeping to see what all's going on here. See what part of my innards has too much pressure. I wish you could do that. You would die from cancer if you did that, but that'd be cool if you could, though.
Yeah, you don't want a lot of those scans.
Yeah. Well, no, because one scan is equivalent to like 5 years of flying.
Now, which one? There's the one that just uses radio waves, right? Is that something a little bit different? It's not.
Well, the CAT scan is essentially just a much more high tech
X-ray.
X-ray.
Is it the MRI? There's one of them that's mainly.
Yeah, the MRI does not use radiation, but it is fucking loud. So good luck trying to sleep within the inside of an MRI machine. It's not doable.
Even with the earplugs in, when I had mine,
it's god awful,
and it's just dang.
Yeah, it's like a hammer beating on your skull, and you're inside of a sardine tube where you can't move.
That's good though, because you can't injure yourself if you can't move.
Oh, that's true. You can't injure yourself. But no, and it takes like 20 minutes to scan your whole head. that was probably one of my least enjoyable procedures that I've had done is being inside a MRI machine, because I did like a proactive full body scan, and it's really cool to look at that shit, but it is not enjoyable to go through the process.
I didn't mind it, but
well, you're crazy.
I know and there are some people, if you have any kind of claustrophobia.
Oh yeah,
my dad does not like to go inside those.
Cannot move.
Yeah, and you feel it's like, well, you just feel like you're. Again, I guess it's just the claustrophobic thing where you just look and it's like you're like 2 inches away. It feels like from
basically you're in the coffin and they're nailing it shut.
That's what it sounds like too, because it's so loud.
Enjoy.
But they blow air through, so if you just kind of close your eyes and not dwell on where you are,
they're blowing you.
Right now, if they were doing that, guys would be lining up for the MRIs. Oh, you get blown while you're going. Well, do I pay extra for that? No, Medicare will cover that. Don't worry about that.
And they're like, well, we can put some music on for you.
Right, to hear over the
extremely loud banging that's happening next to you. And the cheap fucks, this is like not a cheap procedure, right? I think the full, I can't remember what it was, but it was at least $1,000
to get your scan done.
Yeah. And because the full complement of everything I got was about $6,500. And
they found out what? Did they find anything that you didn't know before?
I'm perfectly healthy, but slightly overweight.
Hey, you know what? You would have given me $3,000. I could have told you that.
Well, So, but they had all the machines to tell me that. You would have just lied.
Well, I would have pretended to have the machines.
Yeah.
They would have been made out of paper.
You would have been banging a hammer next to my head just to simulate it. Right.
I would have put you into a big
drawer. Pot. Put my head in a big pot and then start banging on it. Now, here we go. We're doing it. We're doing it right now.
Don't worry, MRI. We'll be done. Yeah, 15 minutes. We'll have all the results.
15 minutes of banging hammers on a pot that you're inside of. It's about what it feels like. But it is a fascinating watching that shit, because now they've got the 3D software that takes all those different measurements and slices they create and creates a 3D model out of it that you can spin around and zoom into and do all kinds of things.
Yeah, and I want to see what maybe the difference was. I wanted to get answers because they did this when
did I want to know why I'm so smart.
Right. And they're like, well, there's no brain here, so this must be a computer chip. This is all a simulation.
Yeah, exactly.
But this is when I had the migraine that mimicked the stroke, because my arm went numb. My whole left side went numb.
Yes.
And they're like, well, we can see. And it's like, if anything, this just was like, okay, now we can see you didn't have a stroke. So that's a plus. And luckily haven't had any migraines like that since. And I still believe, although I'm not a medical professional, we don't give medical advice.
We don't at all, ever.
That it was the fact that I was off caffeine for like a month or two at the time. And that's why it's like now I have to have caffeine daily, because otherwise I believe that if I do get a migraine, rather than being, I just get the little oral, fireworks in the field of vision and then feel a little nauseous after. It's like, well, then if I...
Now, I heard that there's a migraine solution, but you need to get kicked in the head by a mule. And that fixes the migraine.
Takes care of everything?
Well, it takes care of the migraine.
You could be dead.
You no longer, that's a side effect, but you no longer have a migraine.
Right. If you take this drug right here, cyanide works really well. Takes care of whatever problems you have besides being alive.
Yeah, it's it works pretty quickly too. There's not an extensive wait for it.
But
fortunately, it doesn't work on me. So there you go.
But it was a very weird thing, and it's like it's like you don't want to experience it. Because, I think I may have talked about this on this show before, when the neurologist came in and I asked, well, if this happens again, how can I tell whether this is a migraine or a stroke? And he's like, you don't. You come in. That's what Like, well, that's not any fun.
No,
if this is
you're describing his money making strategy. I see.
that could be as well, right?
Yeah.
It's like, do you got to come in? We'll give you another MRI. Everything will be good.
I don't think it was a migraine, dude. I think what you had was a small embolism.
Anything's possible, but they did the test. I mean, if it was in the brain, they would have most
But it
likely
passed.
seen that.
No, but that's my point. Is it passed?
But there are people that have migraines that have that symptom, which is it's a very weird thing. And the only reason, I had heard, back when I was working for the country artist running that board, I remember a chick having a very similar thing. Hey, when I get a migraine, I get the, left side of my body kind of tingles. And it's like,
Yeah.
you kind of think like, well, your arm just, and everybody's had that where their hand or their arm or their leg kind of falls asleep. This was like that, but times like 20, and then it moved.
Mm-hmm.
Was the oddity is that it moved throughout the body because it started in the two small fingers on my left hand. And that was where I'm like, wow, that feels a little weird.
Mm-hmm.
And then it moved down that. And then I could tell when walking that my left foot was not coming up as much as it should. It was like there was definitely some kind of neurological bad stuff going on. And whether it was a migraine or whether it was something else happening for a very quick little period,
Yeah.
it was enough to cause concern.
Oh, definitely. I had something similar feeling. I don't think the cause was the same back at this point. Like,
well, you were in Taiwan with the
years
three
ago.
hookers at the same time.
No. I just came back from Taiwan. I was at home, and so I was sitting behind a computer, and I was, probably busy playing a video game or something. And,
that's a surprise.
And I noticed that my left hand was numb, and that my arm was starting to go numb. And I thought, well, that's funny and random because that's symptoms of a heart attack, but that's obviously not what I'm having. I'm still young.
Well, this shit never seems to happen on the right hand or arm because you'd be like, well, that's not a heart attack.
Yeah,
at least.
Exactly. If it's the right hand, who gives a shit?
Right.
And then I started smelling burnt toast, and I was like, "What the hell, man?"
Was your
so I
wife
yelled to
actually
my wife,
burning
"I'm
toast?
like, are you making toast right now?" And she was in the bedroom. She's like, "What? What are you talking about?"
Of course, yes, I am
And
in the
I'm like,
bedroom with her toy making toast.
Yeah, that's about it. Exactly. And I'm like, I think I might need to go to the emergency room. And she's like, all right, well, call me. Let me know how it goes.
Oh, this is when you know your wife really loves you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that should have been a sign right there. This is a few years before I got divorced. But that right there, that should have been a good sign for me.
Wow.
And, yeah, exactly. So I got pissed off at her and forced her to drive me to the emergency room. But
okay, you're like, can I get a ride, please? I don't want to die on the way.
I'm like, if you don't want me to take your car keys with me while I go to the emergency room, then I suggest you drive me. So that got her too motivated to, because you have to blackmail your spouse. That's how it works.
May be why it didn't last all that long.
That's how it lasted 9 years. It's plenty long.
Wow. That's long enough.
So anyway, got to the emergency room. And then, of course, you proceed through a half hour of paperwork filling out because they want to make sure before they give you any treatment that you're sufficiently insured.
Well, right. They want to see what kind of treatment you can afford.
Yeah,
they're going to give you some
run
treatment.
Your credit card they want to run your background check and see what kind of credit rating you have. What's your FICO score before they provide appropriate levels of service? Apparently my FICO score was too high because they decided, well, I'll get to the point. But so I get in there. The first thing they do is they take all the vitals and they're like, your pulse is like 130. I'm like, yeah, that seems a little high, but maybe it's because I'm nervous. And then they said, well, your blood pressure is 185 over 130.
You're like, that can't be right.
You should be dead right now. And I'm like, I can't really feel that or anything right now. So I don't know. So they injected me with some drugs to drop my pulse rate, whatever the opposite of cocaine is, I guess. I'm not sure.
Probably Metropolol or whatever it is.
Something. And And then they go through the whole test of like, what have you taken? What are you on?
Right. What?
like,
nothing. Video games and caffeine.
I'm a well-paid businessman. I'm respected. I travel a lot and play video games. What else is there? And did an X-ray, or I can't remember if we did a CAT scan or not, but definitely did an X-ray of my heart with the what do you call that shit? The nuclear injection thing,
right?
Whatever it was.
Right. Yeah, they inject you so they can.
Yeah.
They get
watch
a nice clear picture.
They want to see if there's any stoppage somewhere.
They want to see where the blood flow is going. Right.
Yeah. Nothing. All fine. Everything's good. Everything's good. And they're like, well, you really should stay overnight for observation. And I was like, I really don't want to stay here. I hate hospitals. They suck.
Would you like to die, sir?
And then my ex-wife was like, well, she was my wife back then, but she was like, oh, you really should stay. What if something happens? And I don't want to drive you back.
Her boyfriend was already over.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
I want to send him home. The pizza guy's coming.
And I was like, God damn it. So I ended up staying. Worst night of my life. No sleep at all. You got freaking plugs and tubes running in and out of your body. You got all kinds of electrodes hooked up to your brain trying to measure shit. I was like, it literally was the worst night of non-sleep that I had. Couldn't wait to rip all this shit off in the morning and check myself out and say, yeah, I think I'll take the numb left arm over this any day. This is not worth it. And, as a result of that, so it was inconclusive, but they said you did not have a heart attack. So, okay, I guess that's a good thing. No heart attack. And then, of course, they wanted me back there like 2 weeks later to do a stress test where they try and induce a heart attack. So,
right.
Doctors.
Well, and that's when they do the nuclear thing as well. So you can go
you're
in.
like, we'd like you to jog on a treadmill for as long as it takes that you can't breathe.
Yes. Yeah, okay. That's what they did when I went in, and it was with the gallbladder thing. But I love people complain about medical availability here in the United States. And I guess it's just because I'm a tall white guy.
Yeah. Well, you're privileged. Yes.
True. And I guess I have always had good insurance because when I went in for the gallbladder, and it's like, well, I went in with kind of chest pains, which could very easily have been just a, what you get, like your acid reflux when that just doesn't go away, the heartburn kind of a thing. Mm-hmm. So the cardiologist came into the room and he's like, yeah, we looked at this, this, and this. If it was a cardiac event, now that we're, 10, 12 hours, because it was the next morning after you came in, something would have most likely happened by now. But if you want to do a stress test, we can do that. I'm like, well, I'm here. I haven't had one in a while. Why not?
Yeah. Well, that's one thing you learn by watching House is that basically the doctor's easiest method of diagnosis is to try and kill you.
Right. And then
also see what happens.
Just put you through whatever test that you can. And I think it was a good thing that my mom stayed. She had surgery on Wednesday to have a little mass on her kidney removed. And she's like me, which anytime we go under anesthesia,
6'5"?
Yeah, no, she's not quite that tall. But when she comes out of the surgery, the anesthesia, it's a vomit city kind of thing.
Yeah.
And they've tried different types of anesthesia with both of us. And it's almost every time if you have to have an operation. That's how I wound up with the AFib after gallbladder surgery, which should have been a nice, easy in and out in a few hours. The vomiting created the, brought the AFib on.
Not eat.
What do you mean? There was nothing there. I mean, that was it. It's like, I don't even know what I was vomiting.
Dry heaves?
Yeah.
Oh, that's all right then.
It set the heart into AFib, which was a lot of fun. That was, maybe I've told that story as well, but the nurse was like pushing me out. The wife had already gone to get the car. And I'm like, as she's pushing me out, I could feel my heart doing. And I'm just like, no, I'm having an arrhythmia. No, you'll be fine. I'm like, no. And then luckily there was the anesthesiologist that came back in and he's like, let me hear what's going on here. And he's like, yeah, we're going to get you an EKG.
Yeah.
And then it was, we're going to get you a room.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, you're trying to push people out the door. It's like, well, that's how Andy Warhol died. I found out after gallbladder surgery, went into AFib. and whatever, I guess, did not get checked, and that can go poorly for some people. But the anesthesia, the stuff they put through your system, it's like, yeah, your body does not like that stuff.
Well, no shit, Sherlock.
Uh-huh. And it's like, that is some really nasty
you're basically
stuff.
brain dead.
Yeah, because they don't want you to feel what they're doing, which is good.
Yeah, because what they're doing is not really what you think medicine is supposed to be.
It's a bizarre
it's
thing.
Very barbaric.
Yes, and no matter
it's using
how
power tools on your body.
well, and now they're using just the little robotic things.
Oh, that's better though. I would prefer that.
Yeah, rather than the big cutting. But yeah, there's like two little holes that, one in her side and one in her ass. I'm like, oh, that's fun.
Mm-hmm.
You'll be having a few weeks of healing up.
Yeah, that's better than just cutting a 6-inch slit and then sticking your hands in there.
Yes, yeah. We just want to root around, see what we can find.
Uh-huh.
We have.
So,
we do
what
have
should I have for lunch?
Well, let's see. Before that, Surfer just came in with a 40,000 Satoshi boost saying, relent.
Nice. Now,
Wait,
how do I look up my thing on there?
Do you want us to relent? Let's see. I mean, what's interesting is that there are still different, as our buddy CSB pointed out, there are still cached versions of the RSS feed. And I'm not sure how this works with all these different apps. Obviously, some of them are fucking stupid because the update still hasn't gone through.
Really?
And since this one didn't come through, because I updated it to Satoshi Stream for it to pop up when a Boostagram comes in, which is what I was using originally. And then I went to BoostBot because Satoshi Stream wasn't quite working all that well, but then BoostBot kept disappearing, so I went back to that. This one didn't come through on Satoshi Stream, so I'm not sure if it's going to be coming through to your Alby one. If you're listening and you can tell, Surfer.
I got to look up Alby. How do you spell it?
Alby?
Yeah.
It's getalby.com.
Oh, Get Alby. Okay.
That is their website. If you have the browser add-on, then you should have that always.
Yeah, I don't have the browser add-on.
The browser add-on's great. You should get it.
What do I need that for?
Because then it all just happens magically.
Oh, okay.
And then that's what they use for people that use it for Nostr and all that. It's your logins or all that are in there. But it did pop up in my Get Alby, so there's
but that doesn't mean anything. Yours always worked.
I mean, this is all I'm really worried about, though. So, if you didn't get it, I'm not as worried that. I mean, I usually find it more humorous when, in fact, it only comes to me.
Well, and it usually does only come to you. So, yeah.
And the reality is, with a lot of these,
one-time code. What the hell is this one-time code bullshit?
I don't know. If you have to log in,
Jesus Christ.
If there is on Podverse, when you're doing a boost, it gives you are you okay with this for every part of that boost? So if you really want to, and you're like, hey, I want to boost that Hog Story show, but I hate that John Fletcher. I just want it to go to Carolyn Blaney. You could just say no to the one and yes to the other. It's a lot of fun. But it'll still pop up like, hey, we'll read it because it came through to the show. Which is why I think you always want to put the most important addresses first. Although maybe that doesn't even matter if it's first. I know sometimes if they fail, it doesn't, you want the failure to be far down the chain, I think. But what do I know?
Yeah, I'm not getting this code from Alby. You can't trust this shit, man. I'm telling you.
It works perfectly for me. It always has. You should run your own node.
I do run my own node.
How does that work for you?
It's expensive.
It's very expensive, and it doesn't pay off yet with the amount of Satoshis that come in.
Everything, all these fucking channels they don't last long.
So you just have to worry about what you want for lunch. And you could pay for your lunch with Satoshis.
Yeah, no.
Wait, you're in, come on.
I'm not going to worry about it. Whatever, fuck it.
You're in Satoshi land out there in Texas, in Austin. Don't everybody like Satoshis?
No.
That's interesting. I thought everybody would be involved taking it as payment.
No.
But 40,000 is pretty good. I mean, that is, a little over $10? Right about $10, I think 40,000 Satoshis.
Okay.
So we appreciate that, Surfer. I appreciate it even more than Gene because he maybe didn't even get it.
I have no idea if I got anything. I don't see anything here.
It's okay. You don't need the money. You are independently wealthy businessman.
Is that how that works?
That's what I've heard.
Uh-huh.
You are independently wealthy businessman. I hear all of your other podcast co-hosts you've bought Ferraris for and Apple Mac Pros and, these extravagant gifts. So I'm just probably waiting for Christmas. So you're going to have Taylor Swift come do like a personal concert for me?
You do a performance for one.
Taylor shows up at the front door like Gene sent me.
Yeah.
You would be my favorite person in the world from then on. Well, after Taylor, of course.
For an hour.
Yes, for at least an hour. Do you have to sing or can I choose other activities? What package did Gene pay for? He is very legitimate businessman.
Oh, man. Keep talking. You're going to get banned off our website.
Out of which website?
The official one that you buy shit from.
They'll be like, no, we will not sell you merchandise any longer.
Exactly. You're now forbidden to purchase any items.
I didn't even see the full list. I didn't even see the full list, but last night was the premiere of her concert movie in theaters.
Mm.
And I did see that they had a popcorn bucket and plastic cup made especially for this that people were already spending big bucks for. I'm like, you people are nuts.
That is nuts.
But that's what's going to be like, wow, we're just going to keep spending money. I'm like, I wonder how much it is.
I have no idea. It's not sending me a code, whatever.
For the popcorn and drink at the Taylor Swift movie extravaganza. But I'm just waiting for it now that it was in theaters last night. I'm just I'll have to look today. Because, if it was in the theaters last night and all this stuff is now transmitted digitally, it's like, it's going to be available for download somewhere very soon. And I would still rather just watch it on my TV. And for the concerts, it's more important to have my Onkyo receiver and JBL speakers so I can enjoy the audio quality.
I like how you're using the brand names of mediocre products. That's awesome.
Oh, JBL speakers from these are, and JBL I will give you this. JBL has fallen a long way since when did I buy these? 89, 90. These are the JBL L7 speakers. Look them up at some point. They are beautiful. They're about 75 pounds a piece. They sound excellent. And they're one of my favorite speakers that I've ever heard.
Mm-hmm.
And the Onkyo receiver, it's a pretty damn clean signal you can pass through. It's not a Macintosh or anything.
It's definitely not a Macintosh.
I told my wife, I'm like, hey, Macintosh just made a subwoofer. Can I put it on my Christmas list? And she's like, how much is it? And I'm like, 40. She's like, 1,000? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Is that too much for a subwoofer? So if anybody out there wants to gift me something for the holidays.
Today? What date is today?
Today's the 13th, Friday the 13th, October.
Friday the
2023.
13th, I got 5,000 sats came in.
No, see, you didn't get it then. That was probably it was trying to go to the old one, which would be my guess since it didn't go to Satoshi.
The 5,000 sats was the Russian stuff, the pronunciation shit.
From CSB, yes, because that was 10,000.
Yeah, okay. So I got that 5,000, but I didn't get whatever you're stealing from me right now.
From Surfer, it must try your other thing, man, because that must have been what it came to.
There's nothing in the other one at all.
So that's just shut down. So I got to figure out.
Down. It's just it's the reason I got the LB is because
it's no bueno.
The fucking channels are all full.
CSB, how does this work? Who is taking this RSS feed and caching it that a week later the cache hasn't updated? Because that seems like bullshit.
That is
and this
bullshit.
also seems like people could lose a lot of funding.
Well, they're not losing it. It's just not leaving the wallet of the person that's sending it.
Well, right. But people are not being able to receive, I guess, is a better way to put it.
Yeah, exactly.
And if the changes are not updating, it's like, why are you caching an RSS feed at all? CSB told he put up on No Agenda Social, which whoever was doing this, and I don't think it was Podverse, or maybe it was, but it's like this, you can't cache something indefinitely because things change. If you add somebody else to a split, that's not going to see it. Like, this is stuff that should be updating probably every hour at the very least if it's being cached somewhere.
Yeah.
Not just indefinitely a week later, but that had to be what happens because it still came through to my end, but it probably was trying to go to your other wallet. And that's probably like, no, Gene is Russian, so we can't have that. We cannot have the Russians. They are bad. I mean, better than Israelis, right?
I asked, actually posted a note in social for somebody to send a small, like 300 sats or something, donation to just to Good Old Boys to see if I properly added that to the feed. And nothing's in here, so I'm going to guess no. I did something still screwed up there.
Well, let me take a look at that for you. While you decide what you want for lunch, I can take a look.
I decide I could do some tech support while I'm looking for lunch food.
What should Gene have for lunch? You can just boost us, let us know what you think Gene should be having. Maybe this could be a new thing. Like you let people decide what you should have.
Gets to decide what I eat for lunch.
You let them order your lunch for you. So whatever they order, you eat. Would be.
Oh, now you're getting something.
Yeah, it's like then you can video it, and just in case it's something like very, very hot, spicy, kind of a thing. Ooh, yeah. I don't even know. So I see just Good Old Boys, just 2 Good Old Boys, and I click that, and I get a 500 server side error on Podverse. Let me see.
What?
I have never seen this happen before. I did a search, and for Good Old Boys, your show popped up on the list, but when I hit the thing,
it's not working. Okay, nice.
It's like it gives me a 500 server side error. So let me search for Unrelenting to see if that works still.
No, it should. I think I know why. It's probably...
no, Unrelenting's even a 500 server side error.
Well, maybe they don't like my
maybe Podverse. Well, no, I don't think that could be it. So okay, now I have to look for No Agenda. So let's see if we do that. And or no, that wait, how does No Agenda not come up first on the list? In Podverse, I typed in No Agenda, and I get NOA. El Mundo Nunca Importa Poco Noah, A Brick to Your Face with Lisa and Noah News Over Audio. Why is this No Agenda not coming up? What's going on, Podverse? I don't like this. I don't like this at all. Okay, let me just try for Agenda. The J Agenda. Why? Okay, why is something called the J Agenda? Last episode, October 2017, coming up before No Agenda A. That's very weird. Let me just go then. Let me go to my podcast list here, where I have Unrelenting, Grumpy Old Betsy. No Agenda is also a server-side error. So there's something weird in Podverse, so I can't even look up your Good Old Boys and see if that's working. Does anybody have Podverse working?
I'm looking at the RSS feed to Good Old Boys, and it looks okay, but I don't know.
It could be, something. And it could just be cached or something. I only send out the boosts and stuff through Podverse, which Alby integrates, together.
Yeah, this does not work. God damn, guys.
So if I can't get to it on Podverse is just like no bueno. It doesn't want to give me anything.
Yeah.
See, Brooklyn says he's listening on Podverse. I mean, I see the live thing comes up, but it's weird. If I go to Podverse FM/podcast, I click on Unrelenting, I get a 500 server side error. That is like, why is that? It's very strange.
That is weird. You shouldn't be.
And it's not like I'm running through a VPN or anything. That's all off since we are recording. Maybe it's something to do with Brave. I guess that's always possible that something changed. This is the technology. Let me try it here.
This is the tech segment.
It's out. We have to do the tech segment every show.
And I'm still looking for ideas for lunch. If anyone
it doesn't even work. It doesn't even work in clean Chrome. So I'm getting a 500 error. So I think you should have. Well, we know you've been eating a lot of chicken lately. You don't want the rice, correct? You're like you just
no. I don't eat the rice. No.
Why don't you just get a nice grilled chicken on pita, little lettuce, tomato. Is that not that too healthy? We had some really good.
I don't need the pita.
You don't like? I like the pita. We had some good food the other day. Ordered some shawarma, and the guy gave her the wrong bag. which was a like triple kebab experience, like a $25 dinner.
Mm-hmm.
She went back to get the 2 bowls, the steak bowls, and I'm like, I'd just keep the other one too. And it's like, this was the most delicious chicken. I don't know how they season it, how they cook it, but it was some of the best chicken I've ever had with the spicy rice and a little bit of spicy hummus. It was delicious. But what should Gene eat for lunch? And are there any? Oh, okay. Now here, the 500 error is gone. That's good. Now I can see unrelenting again. This is all happening live right on the internet.
Yes, it's amazing when you're looking at things live on a podcast.
It is. I mean, if you're listening live, you're getting it live, which is why you want to listen to us live, not unlive or undead, because then it's a completely different show about we never mean any harm. You're really taking this seriously, the Dukes of Hazzard theme, but why? I don't even have the ability to boost you. You must have not done something right.
Yeah, exactly. No, it's fucked up.
Did you not just look at what we do on Unrelenting and what?
No, I know what the problem is. I can see what the problem is here, man. It's a problem with Buzzsprout.
Oh, well, see, Buzzsprout sucks.
Well, Adam told me to use them, and I may stop using them. So,
roll your own, baby. I see mine going to Get
that's
Albie.
The worst thing to do. Don't do that.
See, at least it's set up now on Podverse. It does show for this show as SirGene at GetAlby.com. So it wasn't Podverse. It was another one. And I'm sorry to look back here on Surfer. He was via Fountain. So it was Fountain for some reason is caching. So if you're on Fountain, any donations right now, only come to me. You'll only spend half of what you put in. It's a beautiful way. It's a new thing. It's a new promotion we have going here. If you want to support Unrelenting, at least the Irish side, then you go to Fountain. You send in all your Satoshis. Keep Gene out of the mix, that bad Russian. And Surly Mofo says, Grumpy Old Benz isn't showing up in CurioCaster since 920. Whoa. He said he did get the new Good Old Boys. Well, the Surly Mofo, yesterday was the first Grumpy and Old Benz in like 3 weeks. So refresh and check that out. Bemrose was on fire. I mean, we had somebody put him out, but he was on fire.
On fire. He's usually barely awake.
I know. It's different now. It's different now that he has a day job. He's even grumpier.
Wait,
and sore
when are you doing the show if he's got a day job?
Well, he has Wednesdays off, but he was so... And I wasn't home because I was at the hospital all day on Wednesday.
Of course you were.
But he said he was so wiped out from doing the physical labor that he was not ready to do a show on Wednesday. So support that Angry Tech News. If you want to help Ryan Bemrose, and really more so, if you know somebody that could hire a programmer, then give him a gig. Let him do what he was meant to do. I mean, and besides laying naked on the couch. Which is what Gene likes to do while playing space video games. Everybody's got their own thing.
Get out of my house.
Get out of my house. Get off my lawn.
So, same difference. Yeah. So here's for people that may care, although you probably don't. So I followed the instructions from Buzzsprout, the host that I use, which generally has been pretty damn good, to add the podcasting 2.0 value for value token thing. And by following the directions, it does not work because it basically added the shit that I put in there after what's the process called? It basically converted all the brackets and less than greater than kind of stuff.
Oh, it didn't put it correctly into the RSS feed.
So in the RSS feed, it put it in symbolically rather than the actual stuff. So no, that didn't work. So I just sent them a nasty message saying, what the fuck? And honestly, the process is so goddamn automated right now that there's nothing that it does uniquely. So I may end up just switch to have the Darren Host Company host it for me. and then manually roll it, as it were.
It works. I mean, surprisingly, it works because I've never been on a podcast host. I just kept using the host I had for websites before podcasting.
Yeah.
I was like, can we just add this? Yeah, sure. No problem.
Yeah. And it's, I mean, that's what I used to do back when I had my original podcast back in 2007. It's just self-roll it on a site. But back then you actually had tools like, what was the thing called? It was like an RSS cleaner.
Right.
God, what was it called? Clean Feed.
No, that's what we're using for the audio here.
Oh, you're right. No, what was it called? It was something feed, maybe something. I can't remember.
I know what you're talking about, but
it
I
basically
don't remember what it was.
let you point it at an RSS feed. FeedBurner. Yeah, that's what I use. FeedBurner. It pointed at an RSS feed. It would clean it up, standardize it, add some shit there if you wanted to add some shit. And then that officially was my podcast feed, was through FeedBurner. Do you remember that, or somebody say it?
No, I remember that.
Okay.
Because that was the way you used to do it.
Yeah.
And it would, yes, I don't remember exactly what it added to it, but it was one of those services like, well, if you're going to have an RSS feed, you may as well use FeedBurner because we'll do this, and this.
Yeah.
I'm sure they weren't using you for all the data that you were putting through their system.
Exactly.
As you then learn
but
that
who
the
cares?
data.
It's all public anyway.
CSB says, yes, individual apps are caching in Podcast Index. It is correct. So, yes, it's in individual apps like Fountain that obviously aren't updating the RSS feed, which is very bad.
That's weird because you would think if it's updating it to pull the new episodes, why wouldn't it update it? But you may want to put in a support ticket to them.
Be like, hey, Fountain, hey, you know who, CSB, you know who's with Fountain. I think he sent them already a message.
No.
I mean, if CSB notices the problem, he will tell the software folks.
That's true. CSB is good at that.
Like, it is not working. This is keeping Gene from being self-programmer, self-funded dude named podcaster.
I mean, honestly, I probably, this may be the kick in the ass that I need just to stop paying for feed hosting and just go to my own hosting.
Yeah, I mean, I looked and have looked at Buzzsprout and these other companies as they've popped up.
Yeah.
And I've never really seen anything that they're offering that makes me want to spend more money to have a service that seems like it's a little bit more restricted.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, the reason that I went with them originally when I started Sir Gene Speaks was because they were one of literally like 3 companies that were supporting the Podcasting 2.0 feature set, meaning mostly inclusion of images and the text in the podcast, the transcription. So most of the other companies doing hosting were not supporting those yet.
Right.
And so
now everybody wants.
And I mean, Adam literally told me, I use these guys. They're using all the Podcasting 2.0 stuff.
Now that you can just run it into your Adobe software and just give me a transcript, boom, there it is.
Oh yeah. It's all good. So there's probably, because I'm paying like $40 a month for
a podcast podcasts. Nobody's listening to. For 2 podcasts
that apparently can't receive any money.
Well, that makes it a whole lot less fun.
Well, and I mean, I don't care about the Sir Gene Speaks not receiving money because I haven't put out a new episode in like 6 months, but I'm still paying for the podcast.
Still there for people that want to listen to it.
So I probably
find it.
I probably will migrate it then. That's a good point you bring up.
That way you have full control. And as long as you have a clue of what needs to be done, that's really what these podcast hostings sell to. Hey, you have no idea how to put up a website. We'll do everything for you. And that's great for some people.
Yeah.
And they don't mind the restrictions that you have. And I know it was driving a lot of people nuts when the Podcasting 2.0 stuff started popping up because you need to put something extra in the RSS feed. And if that is not an option on your podcast host, you're like, wait.
Yeah.
Why can't I do this?
Yeah.
where if you own the server, you can do it. And there are people that have put out things on WordPress and others there that you can use to post the things.
Well, and I know Todd, what's his face? Todd, what is his last name?
Good old Todd, what's his face? I don't know which Todd you're talking about.
He's got the other hosting company. It's Blueberry Todd. They're the ones that make the WordPress extension.
Yes. Well, there are other people that had them that worked with the Blueberry on WordPress, because that's what I used to publish most of my podcasts.
Yep.
And you can make your own. You're adding something into the RSS feed. That's literally all you're doing to change it, to add the funding possibilities coming in. But what I didn't like were the people that created those, and then Blueberry now. And I get it. They need to make their money. Don't get me wrong. But they force a percentage. So you go and you put your information in for the sats, and it's like, well, if you're going to do this using our software, we're taking 3% or something like that. And it's like, I'm not saying that's necessarily unfair for what they're providing, but it's really not value for value if you're forcing me to do it. And I guess maybe
the PowerPress plugin does that, or what?
I believe so, yes. I mean, at least it did when it first came out. I haven't looked recently. I still use PowerPress, but I don't put my information in their interface. Every time it upgrades, I just go cut and paste it back into the RSS feed.
I see.
Which means I have to turn off the automatic updates on it, but it's no big deal, because once a week when I update the podcast, almost every time there's a new Blueberry update. And then I just do the update, then paste the information back in for the streaming Satoshis and such back into the RSS feed. But that way it's like, okay, I'm a cheap bastard. I don't have to pay the extra 3%. Would I pay the 3% if it was, hey, put your information in here and then decide if you want to give us something or not? Then I might even give them 5%. But it's that if you use our service, you're paying this. I'm like, no, I can just do it for free. This is the way people look at all this stuff. Is it rational? Probably not. Is it predictable? Most likely.
Yeah. So how much is the plugin?
It's free. I mean, you just add that into WordPress. They do not charge for that. So I'll give them credit on that one. They don't charge you to use their plugin in order to run your podcast using WordPress with their plugin. And you can also use Cold Acid's thing that he is working on now. He is curating, I guess is the right word.
Yeah.
Which is what it's a very bare bones, but it's what I use for the Rock and Roll Pre-Show, where I don't really need a lot, but he uses it on his Rare Encounter podcast. And it is another just easy to use. It's called the Podcast Generator. And what is it's always hard to find the link to here. Podcast Generator. The configuration. Where is add a link, Cold Acid. That's the one thing you should do for this is let people easily get back to where is the main page on where you can download the Podcast Generator. It's like you should have that. It's got like Podcast Generator news, and it has, version 3.29 is out, which was last year in November. So it's been a while since an update. But you click on that and it doesn't take you to
CSB just tweeted a new cartoon on X.
No, and I see it on
with the two
No Agenda Social too. It's as our podcast is going on, as he is imagining what it looks like.
I mean, it's, it doesn't look like either one of us, but it's supposed to be, I think.
Much better looking.
Yes. Although I am wearing a white t-shirt, so that's pretty funny.
How did he know?
I know, right?
I'm wearing actually a Krusty Burger black t-shirt. So, I mean, there's that.
Oh, yeah.
Krusty the Clown on it.
Yeah. No one's ever heard of that.
Anybody that watches The Simpsons has.
It
is on GitHub. So just do a search for Podcast Generator 3.29. You'll go right to GitHub. You'll see the curator is Cold Acid. And it's easy to install. And you can add very easily whatever you want. There's just a box there for anything you want to add into the RSS feed. So again, it's a manual editing thing. But what I like about that is most of them, and I don't know if Blueberry's any different because I haven't looked at it recently, but you can put as many entries as you want into the Podcast Generator one, which means instead of just putting the next show in, I usually put the next month in. So that way, some of these that show you upcoming shows, it's like, oh, you'll see every one of those in the coming soon. Where some of them only allow you to put one.
Well, I'm going to have to just try this after the show.
If anybody can help Gene with some more technical things, just go to thegoodoldboys.com and he's never meaning any harm. Sometimes
That's
it
right.
happens, but he never means any harm.
Never meaning any harm, exactly.
They beat all you never
did
saw.
anybody come up with my food question here or what?
No, nobody is even
God
offering
damn it.
what you should be eating.
Come on, people.
A big Italian beef, that would be good, loaded up with carbs.
No
pizza,
carbs.
load up. No carbs. So then
No
you're just
carbs.
looking for just meat.
I'm looking for chicken. I'm looking for
That would be
steak.
meat.
I'm
That would be
looking for
meat.
hamburger. I'm looking
All
for
of them.
barbecue. I'm looking
Like a
for things that
turducken.
are
You
good.
want like a chicken breast wrapped in ground beef, wrapped in a filet mignon.
Uh-huh. I do.
Seasoned just right. No potatoes
Where do I order those?
because you don't want the carbs, so no potatoes.
No. I think they have a fake potato made out of meat now.
Wait, who's doing this? What kind of technology is this? A fake potato made out of meat?
Yeah, it's made out of meat, but it's simulating the texture of a potato.
I will say I like the rice that's made out of cauliflower. It's an interesting way to go about it.
Yeah, it sounds very Fruit Loopy.
Yeah, but then you don't have the carbs. You kind of have a ricey type
yeah,
substance.
you do. Wait, cauliflower has carbs, dude.
Well, not the same amount of that rice would have in it.
No, it's a lot less nutritious.
Well, yeah, but who's talking about nutrition?
Mm-hmm.
Just have something. Come on, just splurge. Go get yourself a big pizza. And then don't eat the crust. Just scrape off the innards. Where are you ordering from?
Oh, I know you're not even in this cartoon. I just noticed that it is.
Is it just you?
It's not. No, it's what's his face? Bemrose.
Oh, no.
Bemrose. And I'm pretty sure I'm the one saying, dude, you're shattering age-old traditions of podcasters being gloriously jobless. Well, maybe that's you. I don't know.
And I like that.
Maybe that is you.
Comrade Christopher Battles added a spoiler alert to his I'm wheeling around Amazon's latest. And here's the thing that Bemrose is going to hate about this.
Because it actually is Amazon. That's what he's going to hate about it.
Well, no, that's fine because he kind of let that out of the bag. But in this cartoon, he looks very much Leo Laporte-ish.
I know, right?
That's what
Well, CSB really likes Leo Laporte. That's like his favorite podcaster.
Dude, you're shattering the age-old transitions of us podcasters, gloriously jobless creators. Yeah, because that definitely looks like you with the beard.
It looks more like me than you, but it may be you.
Yeah, I don't have the big beard. I've never had more than just the little goatee. And I have at least a little hair on the sides.
Bemrose is not clean shaven either.
No, well, he might be now.
Well, maybe. Yeah.
He may be now. So he's imagining what a podcast between you and Bemrose would be like. And there are a few of those.
We've done a few, yeah. Mm-hmm.
The ramble on episodes of Unrelenting for Grumpy Old Bens.
Hey, man, I don't think 3.5 hours is rambling on.
A lot of people would disagree with that one. Mm-hmm. So you have to order your food because I know you can't make it yourself. You don't have anything in the fridge. You don't have anything in the freezer.
I have ketchup in the fridge. I have some apples.
Wait, and iced tea because the whole fridge is filled with iced tea. Are you out now?
That's a different fridge. That's the iced tea fridge.
Wait, you know what? I don't believe you're lying. I believe you do have an iced tea fridge.
Separate fridge for iced tea. Yeah, of course.
Which explains how you can order the 12 bottles at a time.
Yeah, 15
that need to be refrigerated.
Mm-hmm.
It's the iced tea fridge. Now, this is first. You want to know why people don't donate to this show? Because they're like, this asshole has a separate fridge just for his iced tea. That's why.
That's not unusual. Lots of people do.
Everybody that has a fridge for their iced tea, would you please stand up? Let me know. I want to know if anybody else has an iced tea fridge. Now, there's a show title as well.
Iced tea fridge?
Uh-huh. It's almost as good as Big Ass
sure
Fat Ass.
Ice-T has an iced tea fridge.
Oh, wait. Are you hanging out with Ice T now?
No, but I'm pretty sure that he does.
That would be a podcast I would totally listen to. You and
I used to listen to his podcast. I rather enjoyed it.
Well, he's got a really good voice.
He does have a good voice. He's got interesting stories too.
I would assume, yes.
Yeah.
I mean, there are people that tell stories that you're like, no, that can't be true.
Yeah.
Coming from Ice-T, you'd be like, yeah, I believe that.
Yeah. No, he's got good stories. It's always fun to listen to.
That's what podcasting is good for. Hearing stories from a wide variety of people. I mean, I heard your new book is going to be a lot of personal stories from you, or at least allegedly, the Peterman Chronicles.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yep.
There's a rumor. Did you see Jerry Seinfeld kind of hinted very recently, like within the last week or so, that they've been talking about fixing that ending of Seinfeld. So there might be some more Seinfeld.
Well, they kind of didn't fix it with the Larry David version of the last episode.
But they're saying maybe there's still something to come, which would be interesting because weren't they?
Yeah.
They were put in jail for X amount of years, right? That was what is. Have we gotten to that point where X amount of years have passed?
Well, I thought they addressed all this on the Larry David version.
I didn't see that.
You should watch it.
I've never seen the Larry David show.
Are you kidding me?
I've never seen Idiocracy. What? No, but I've seen Godfather of Harlem.
I don't know what that is, but if you watch, I think it was maybe 5 years ago now. They, Larry David was the guy that actually created Seinfeld,
it, right?
And so,
wait, he's his father. He created Jerry Seinfeld.
He created the show.
Oh, the show.
And on that season, the central plot of the season of Curb Your Enthusiasm, which is Larry's show, is that he ends up accidentally talking his way into saying that he's gonna redo or to put out a final episode of Seinfeld. I can't remember if he was talking to a date or somebody else, and like he was using that, I think, as an excuse, is that he's gonna, I've been busy working and trying to get this last new
right. It's
Seinfeld
like you
episode
talking to the Australian girl on the plane. Like, I'm an author. I'm an author. Yeah, I'm working on a book.
Yeah. Hey man, I did. You saw that video I sent you, right?
I did.
Yeah. She's, all right. And then of course he realizes now he's got to actually do it. So I know what it was. He was trying to get back with his ex-wife, and he kind of told her that he was kind of sort of thinking of putting her into that final episode of Seinfeld. And then he has to convince the gang, Jerry and the rest of them,
to do a show,
to do another episode. And they're all at first like very apprehensive about it. And then, but of course, eventually he talks them into it. And then you have 2 episodes which take place on the Seinfeld set, which is fascinating because it is literally Seinfeld, but like with updated kitchenware.
Right, because they had to do that.
Yeah, because he wouldn't have the same fridge that he had 20 years ago. So he's got a new stainless fridge, but
they use
the layout's
AI,
the same.
Put it in.
Come on, these people have money. they have the furniture's kind of the same, although some of it is newer, some of it's the same. I think Larry's bike is still sitting there in the corner, and it's just it looks realistic because it looks like just you've been gone for 20 years and then you're back in Jerry's apartment.
Yes, which would be great if they just wanted to do another 2, 5, 10 episodes just do an update. Well, they're ready then with the.
Well, they did one, but it was really hard for them to pull this shit together because most of it has either been sold.
Yeah, it's gone.
Or
it's like the Merv Griffin. Bin. Remember the Merv Griffin set that Kramer puts into his apartment?
Yeah, exactly.
They don't have to be the same
right there.
But the reality, though, is they can just recreate anything.
Well, they can, but that's harder than just taking shit that's sitting in the backlot storage.
Right.
But they did get an awful lot of this stuff, and what was interesting in watching the behind the scenes of the episode, which is behind the scenes of the new Seinfeld, was that the reactions from the guys were totally genuine because it was the first time that they were seeing the set 15 years later. And like, there's a lot of, big smiles on people's faces, and it was like, wow, I remember this, that kind of stuff.
So if you had Seinfeld talk.
And then there was an actual, like they did a whole episode of Seinfeld.
Well, there you go. If you had Seinfeld talk, Taylor Swift, Bill O'Reilly, all of these things on your bingo card, you're a winner today.
Oh, yeah, totally.
CSB just sent another 3333 saying, just testing if Fountain app is still caching fucking old splits. Yo.
Let's take a look there.
CSB from csb.lol. Put a www if you're old fashioned.
Yeah, I got nothing.
Oh, I love you, CSB. Keep sending me the splits. It's Fountain. He'll let Fountain know. He will get that fixed. I guarantee. I will put money down that by the next episode of this show, Fountain will be working as it should and not caching.
I'm really surprised that they bother caching it. Like it's more work to set it up to read and store the value than it is to simply read the value every time you read in the RSS feed, which should be every episode.
You would think, I mean, maybe it's because if somebody has boosted before that is, although that's even worse when you're dealing with something that is
but doesn't
changing.
Like some shows like No Agenda have a split every time, for the artist every time. So if you're caching that shit, then you're basically sending money to one guy for all the artwork all the time.
Right. One show is the one artist that won that show that's being
like,
cashed.
Shut up. Don't say anything. Be quiet, guys.
Keep the gravy train rolling in.
It's getting we want. Thousands of dollars coming in for the art.
We want the gravy. The gravy is good. Hey, there you go.
Didn't you win art once? Did you get any money for it?
It was like $5 for the week.
So you did get some. So
I've won.
You would have gotten probably $6 if this app was working right.
In the history of No Agenda, I have cleared the 100 amount of 100 artworks that were chosen to represent
100 artworks. What?
Yeah. The one year
I figured you meant $100 you got out of it.
No, one year I had the one which was the best year. And nobody will even come close, which is kind of like I can retire now because it's a record that will last. In just a few years ago, I won 33 of the artworks, and you figure it's what they do 104 shows a year. I won 33, baby. That's how good I am.
Wow.
Which is why we never change the artwork here and Unrelenting.
Yes, we never do because Darren doesn't want to do any work.
Because it's like Seinfeld. They changed, like maybe they did change the intro every show. There was a little bit of a different music, I think. It wasn't always the exact same. We like work. Did you figure out what you're ordering for lunch? So people, otherwise, if we leave it here, people will be like, what did Gene have for lunch?
I know, right? Well, I'm still waiting for suggestions, so I haven't ordered anything because I'm waiting.
Well, then just go with a big bag of dicks.
Big bag of dicks? All right, if you say so.
Bemrose loves that.
Well, we all know he loves a big bag of dicks.
He talks about it on one show.
Did he?
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, do you like the spotted dick or the regular dick?
In his case, Dick's is the name of a drive-in with burgers and that, and they just say, go get a big bag of dicks.
Oh, I see.
I've never had spotted dick. I've seen it in the can, though.
I have had spotted dick. It's rather good. That was a hell of an outro.
I was going to say there was no better exit point than right there.
That's perfect.